All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a document that is absolutely central to Canadian construction, the CCDC 2020. Look, if you're an owner, a contractor, or a consultant, this agreement, it's the bedrock. It shapes your entire project. So let's get started.
So let me ask you a question. What's the single most important document in Canadian construction? Well, for a huge number of projects, the answer is, without a doubt, the CCDC2. And you've got to understand, this isn't just a stack of paper. It's the central rulebook. It's designed to keep these incredibly complex projects on track and, ideally, fair for everyone involved.
So first up, let's talk about the CCDC2 as the rulebook. At its very core, this document is all about creating a clear, predictable, and balanced framework for getting things built. Now, this entire contract is built around one big idea, a stipulated or fixed price. The contractor agrees to do a very specific scope of work for one single lump sum. And this is great for the owner, right? It gives them cost certainty. But it also means the contractor is taking on the risk of getting that job done within that budget.
And you should know, this isn't just some document somebody dreamed up. It's the product of a national consensus. We're talking about the major industry players, engineers, contractors, architects. They all endorse it. The whole goal here is to have a fair starting point that balances everyone's interests right out of the gate.
You'll see this copyright seal on any official CCDC2 document. And it's not just a logo, it's actually a guarantee. It tells you you're looking at the standard, unedited version. Any changes, and this is so important, have to be made out in the open in a separate section. And we're going to see why that matters so much in a little bit.
Okay, so we've got the rulebook. Now, let's meet the key players in this game.
You've really got three main players at the table. First, there's the owner, who defines what's being built and, of course, pays the bills. Then you have the contractor, who actually builds the thing. And finally, the consultant, usually an architect or engineer, who's meant to be the impartial referee administering the contract. The CCDC2 really tries to create this balanced triangle of power between them.
And speaking of balance, the 2020 version brought in a huge update when it comes to site safety. It used to be that safety was almost 100% on the contractor's shoulders. Not anymore. Now it's a shared responsibility. The owner is actually contractually obligated to make sure their own people are following the contractor's safety rules. It makes it a real team effort.
All right, next section. Money, milestones, and changes. Now we're getting into the real mechanics of a project. How the money flows, how we measure progress, and, critically, how we deal with changes.
Okay, first you've got substantial performance, or SP. This one is a legal milestone. It's actually defined by provincial law. Basically, it means the project is usable even if there are a few minor things left to do. It's #1 job to trigger the release of those big holdback payments.
But the 2020 CCDC2 brought in a brand new milestone, Ready for Takeover, or RFT. Now this one is a contractual milestone. It's not about the law, it's about the practical handover. It's that moment when the owner can officially move in and start using the space.
So what's the difference? Here it is in a nutshell. Think of it like this. Substantial performance is all about the law and the money. It gets that holdback cash flowing. Ready for Takeover, on the other hand, is about the contract and the clock. It stops the construction schedule and, really importantly, it starts the warranty period.
Okay, but what happens when the scope of work changes mid-project? You've got two tools. The best-case scenario is a change order. That's where everyone agrees on the new scope, the price, and the time before any work starts. Total certainty. But sometimes you just don't have time for that. That's when a change directive comes in. It's basically a command to get this done now, and we'll figure out the price later. It puts the schedule first.
The contract is also super clear on how to handle money. Let's take cash allowances. Say you have an allowance for light fixtures. If the ones the owner picks cost more than what was budgeted, no problem. The owner pays the extra amount. But here's the key. The contractor gets their normal overhead and profit, but only on the extra cost. It's a really fair way to handle those little surprises.
Now, everything we've talked about so far is the standard balanced CDC2. But now we get to the contract's hidden engine. This is the part that can change absolutely everything.
Just remember, the whole point of the standard CCDC2 is to create that fair, balanced allocation of risk. It's supposed to be the industry-approved starting line for everyone. But what happens if that starting line gets moved before the race even begins? Well, this is where the real negotiation and the real risk actually enters the picture. And this brings us to the supplementary conditions,
or SCs. This is the section where all the custom clauses live, the ones that can modify, add to, or even completely delete the standard terms we've been talking about. And let's be blunt, this is where that balanced risk gets shifted. And usually it's shifted from the owner over to the contractor.
And these shifts in risk can be absolutely massive. I mean, an SC could just delete the owner's responsibility to prove they even have the money for the project. Or it could add all sorts of new reasons for them to withhold payment. Every single one of these changes completely alters that original, balanced deal.
Let me give you a really simple but powerful example. The standard warranty period in the CDC2 is 1 year. That's a fair, industry-standard term.
But a single sentence in the supplementary conditions can change 1 year to 2 years. And just like that, with a few keystrokes, the contractor's liability and risk has literally doubled. It's the perfect example of how a few little words in the SCs can have enormous financial consequences.
Okay, so let's bring this all home with your final blueprint for how to approach the CCDC2.
If you take away just one thing, let it be this. Think of the standard CCD2 as the official rulebook for the game, but the supplementary conditions, those are the house rules, and you always read the house rules first because they can change everything. So before you sign any CCDC2 contract, go straight to those supplementary conditions, read them carefully, and ask yourself this one simple question. After all these changes, is this still a balanced agreement? Or has the game been tilted against me before we've even broken ground?